Gulf Coast Ecosystem Restoration Council's public meeting at Spanish Fork, Alabama, June the 5th, 2013. I'm Hovey Smith. I'm a professional geologist, an outdoor writer, an outdoorsman, and I hunt and fish in the Gulf. And I testified at this meeting at Spanish Fork. This meeting followed an earlier series of meetings in 2011 by the Gulf Coast Restoration Task Force. Now, this task force considered how to help the Gulf Coast respond from natural disasters such as Katrina and Rita, as well as the Deepwater Horizon oil spill disaster and other similar events. These events impact wildlife, they impact the area's fisheries, they impact vital transportation corridors, they also impact energy production, and I offered a 200-year plan for the restoration of the Gulf Coast. Now, I also presented testimony at the present hearings, which you will hear now.
I'm Hovey Smith, and I'm rather an odd bird in this assemblage. I'm a professional geologist. I live in Georgia. I worked all over North America. I spend a fair amount of time in the Louisiana Delta hunting and fishing. And I have a rather different view. I think that this council will do a very excellent job in expending all money that it has its hands on. I have no question about that. But what I do wish the council to do is to set aside a pot of money for long term. What's long term? Centuries. 200 years. What I proposed previously at the meeting of the task force in 2011 was a 200-year plan for the restoration of the Louisiana Delta. This to be done by an organization with that as its sole mission, located in the state of Louisiana, that not only had the power to conceive of ideas, but had pre-approved plans that they could actually act on in place, so that they did not have to wait to study groups, wait for permission. They could act in the midst of a crisis, something that was very poorly done in Katrina and Rita, as we all know. Now, how do you do this? I suggest that each university, each state university in the effective states on the environmental programs in the environmental department start a sort of contest. What such an organization should look like. In short, crowd planning. Get the best young minds we've got on our university campuses to come up with what an ideal organization, what components it ought to have, where it ought to be located, what ought to be its authority, and actually write legislation that they can submit for judging. Then, when the time is right, unfortunately, after the next catastrophic event, I fear, and Congress loosens a little money, then this organization could indeed be funded and actually put in place and derive a continuous source of funding from independent revenues. What the council can do now is to set aside a small pot of money for this type of work and contest to be run by the various state universities. For what this ideal quick response organization ought to look like, what powers it ought to have, where it should be located, and what components it should have. Present organizations are insufficient. The Corps of Engineers changes up their management every few years. Same with the Coast Guard. The Corps also has too many responsibilities, so indeed we need something new. Thank you.
My particular recommendations for the council, including not only establishing a TVA kind of organization that would oversee the restoration of the Mississippi River Delta, that would be based in Louisiana, have independent funding, and also have rapid response capabilities. Now, I suggested that state universities hold annual competitions among the environmental departments so that grad students could actually draft proposed legislation. This would be judged in an annual contest, money set aside for prizes, as so this would allow this legislation to be pre-drafted and ready for presentation after the next disaster, unfortunately, or whenever the climate would seem to enable it to be passed. My book, Practical Bow Fishing, now is also an e-book, including a trip bow fishing across North America. Now, I have others like backyard deer hunting, crossbow hunting, extreme muzzleloading, and also a new 8-book e-book series on muzzleloading guns that'll be out in 2013. Now, my qualifications as a geologist are that I hold a bachelor's degree from the University of Georgia, a master's from the University of Alaska, and also did postgraduate work at the universities of Arizona and Arkansas. I hold professional registration in Georgia. For more information on my outdoor activities, including books, blogs, videos, and my radio show, go to my website, www.hoviesmith.com. Good hunting and good eating from the outdoors. Goodbye, and God bless.